McFarland here. Thank you for stopping by Cross My Heart Ministry. These are challenging times that we're living in, unprecedented times. Times of uncertainty and difficulty, and times that it's just easy to give into a great deal of fear. But we know that our God reigns, He is on His throne, and a verse that I want to encourage you to keep in mind for such a time as this is this one from Romans 12. Paul's word to the Romans in the first century still applies to us today. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. That's a good word for us. We need to abide in the word and abide in prayer during these challenging times. It can be a tremendous opportunity for us in the body of Christ to love others well, to demonstrate our steadfast faith and confidence that even though we don't know how all this will work out, we know the one who does. And that alone should bring peace to our hearts and our minds as we walk this out and take things one day at a time. The other challenge that comes to us from a very practical standpoint is the challenge to feed the people that are in our homes, because many of us are working from home. Many of us have children that are home from school. Husbands are home. You may work outside the home and you're working from home. And so many of us are normally away during the day for lunch, or we're accustomed to eating out a couple of times a week. And suddenly we're in a position where every meal is eaten at home, and we've got to figure out how to feed what feels like the masses. So I thought today that I would come and just share maybe a practical way that you can use ground beef and multiply that out and do it efficiently. And also I'm going to share one specific recipe for you that's very easy that I've whipped up in a pinch for many years. So first of all, I just want to share an idea about ground beef. You know, if you've got a pound of ground beef, there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. You can make spaghetti, you can make lasagna, you can make chili, you can make tacos, taco soup, taco salad. Today I'm going to share a recipe for something that I call miracle soup. I'll get to that in a minute. But here's what I do when I buy ground beef. I like to buy it in a great big container. So this time I didn't even buy the nice lean stuff. I just got the most affordable because that's what was available when I was doing my stock up shopping. 5.5 pounds in this container. And this is what I always do, crisis or not, because I don't like that greasy mess to clean up. The problem or the challenge with buying ground beef is frying it up and then having all that messy grease to deal with. So what I've done for years is I get a big stock pot and I dump all that ground beef into my stock pot, turn it on low, and I just keep stirring it, and I get it all nice and browned. Then I dump all of it into a colander and collect all that grease. And I kind of mess with the ground beef and keep pushing it through so all that grease drains out good. And I've got all that grease taken care of, and then I can let that cool down and deal with that later. So I get that grease out of my way, and I'm going to put it out of my way now. After I have all my ground beef in my colander, then I measure it all out, see how much I have to make sure I'm going to divide it up equally. And I have done that. And because I had 5.5 pounds of ground beef, what I decided to do was put that ground beef in individual bags so that I have 1.1 pounds in each bag. Measure that out, it's all here. Now, I like to store it, of course, in a freezer bag. So I have these Ziploc freezer bags. But my freezer bags are a lot more expensive than my regular food storage bags. So what I like to do, I'll get a Sharpie here in a little while and remind myself the date and how much is in there. But I don't like to put just a regular bag in the freezer because the freezer burns. So after these cool, I will label the outside of my one freezer bag, and I will put all these in here so that I only have to use up one of my more expensive freezer bags. That's the ultimate in being the cheap, frugal friend. So I'm sharing my idea with you to not only save money by buying your hamburger in bulk, but also how to store it in a frugal way as well. So I have all those ready. I left out 1 pound to process here. So I've got my 1 pound of ground beef left. I'll go ahead and get all that set aside and frozen. And now it's time to do one recipe that I want to share with you to use that 1/5 or 1.1 pounds, since that was a 5.5 pound container of my soup. Now, this is a recipe for vegetable soup. But years ago, when I was making it, I'm gonna go ahead and start accumulating putting my ingredients together. Really very simple. Put the ground beef in here. But years ago, when we lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, so we're going back 25 years. Wow, has it really been that long? But we had some good friends, Mark and Jill. Mark and Jill both got sick. We were all young marrieds. They were dear friends of ours. And I wanted to whip up a meal to take over to them. So I made this vegetable soup. I took it over to them, and Jill wrote me a note and told me later that it was amazing, that they both felt so much better within an hour or two of having that soup. So they asked for the recipe, and they began calling it miracle soup at their house. So as a result of that, we've started calling it miracle soup at our house as well. So whether you call it Italian vegetable soup, the name that my mother-in-law gave it, or you call it miracle soup, that's what it is. It calls for the pound of ground beef. It calls for some frozen soup vegetables. I just had these from Great Value, and this is really a larger container than I need. I don't pay that much attention to the size, just a regular size, but this was a family size, so I'm going to use about half of it, and then I have other plans for the other half of the soup vegetables, but I went ahead and thawed those so that I could divide them up. They had been in my freezer long enough, they got a little clumped together. So I've got my ground beef, I've got the frozen mixed vegetables, then I'm gonna add a little salt and a little pepper, and you can just do this to taste. I think the recipe calls for maybe a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, but when it comes to seasoning, I don't always measure. I just sort of like to dump. So I'm gonna put some salt and pepper in here. And then here's what really makes it so delicious. It calls for a can of V8 juice. So I have the Great Value brand, and it's not being sold in cans anymore. Everything has gone to plastic. So this is what adds delicious flavor. If you've got only tomato juice at your house, go ahead and use that. But the V8 vegetable juice really gives this just a delicious base and makes for a yummy flavor. So really, folks, that's all there is to it. V8 juice, frozen mixed vegetables, or if you don't have the frozen mixed one, you could just dump in a couple of cans, I'm sure, of just regular mixed vegetables. The ground beef, if you like ground turkey, that would probably be a healthier option, and you could do that. So I'm just gonna put this on and let it simmer. I've got it all mixed together, and that is all there is to it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this prepared. Since there are just 2 of us at our house right now, my husband and I will enjoy a bowl of this for dinner, but I got these cute little containers. I got these from the Mary Martha line of Dayspring. It's a home party-based outfit, and they have these cute little containers for storing soup. And so I'm gonna put some of my soup in here. It's just really enough for 1 serving. I have a couple of older widow ladies, or single ladies, that might need some soup in the days ahead. I may end up just going ahead and doing another batch of this soup now that I think about it, and pull out some plastic containers and go ahead and freeze that, because I want to be ready during this time of challenge. If anyone on my street or in my community or any of my friends end up getting sick, there's not a lot that I can do from a health standpoint, but I sure can run over with some soup and bread. I'll probably text them that I'm coming and then ring the doorbell and run, but that is at least one thing that I can do to love on other people, to take them some soup and just check in on them, offer to pick up some groceries or some things like that. This is a great opportunity for us in the body of Christ to remain calm and peaceful, to love God through it, to remain steadfast, and certainly to love others. So whether you're feeding your family or feeding a sick friend, I hope I've given you some ideas today about having all that ground beef already processed and in your freezer can help you out and save you a lot of time. The worst part about serving a meal with ground beef for me is having that nasty, greasy mess to clean up. So by going ahead and doing 5.5 pounds all at once, you have that mess to clean up once instead of 5 times. And it's such a great thing to look in the freezer and know you've got that 1 pound of ground beef to pull out to thaw, in the middle of the afternoon and it's followed by dinner time, and you've got lots of options about what you can serve for dinner. Thank you for watching. Leave me a note in the comments below and tell me what is your favorite thing to make with a pound of ground beef. For Cross My Heart Ministry, I'm Laura McFarland. I want to thank you for stopping by the channel. We are trying to build up our subscriber list. And so thank you to those of you who have already subscribed. If you have, what I would love to ask you to do is to share a link to our YouTube channel with a friend. Give her a recommendation, invite her to subscribe. We're trying to push up that subscriber base. My producer is encouraging me to do that, and I'm trying to comply. So go ahead and share it with a friend. If you haven't subscribed, do that. And it is always a blessing to us when you just click the like button. It gives us that great feedback to know that the content we're bringing is a blessing to you. And of course, leave us a comment. Friends, stay safe, stay home, stay praying, feed your family well. Until next time, this is Martha Mundy for Cross My Heart Ministry. I'm Laura McFarland. Have a blessed week.